Sunday, 3 children found abandoned in an apartment, and their brother's decomposing body was in another room.
At this hour, the mother and her boyfriend are now both charged in the case. Our Brittany Jeffers live outside the courthouse, where both of them are set to appear in court within about an hour from now. Brittany?
Yes, that's right. Children's mother and her boyfriend both arrested yesterday, and at 7 o'clock they are due to go before a judge. Now, 31-year-old Brian Coulter has been charged with murder. The boy's mother, 35-year-old Gloria Williams, charged with injury to a child by omission as well as tampering with evidence. Now, the child's remains were found inside of an apartment in West Harris County on Sunday. Preliminary autopsy results showed that the 9-year-old died from homicidal violence, specifically multiple blunt force injuries. The child's remains went undetected in that apartment for about a year, according to deputies. Now, as I mentioned, the mother's boyfriend now charged with murder, and charging documents show that Coulter is accused of striking the complainant with the defendant's hand and kicking the complainant with the defendant's foot, causing death. In addition to tampering with evidence, the children's mother is charged with injury to child by omission. Charging documents alleged by failing to provide adequate nutrition and failing to protect the complainant. Now, Harris County deputies also found 3 malnourished children inside of the apartment on Sunday. Officials tell us that one of the surviving children called 911. Houston criminal defense attorney Chris Downing says that the other tragedy in all of this is that no sensible adult stepped up and acted sooner.
This was happening in an apartment complex where there were neighbors all around it. The nature of the modern world, perhaps we don't spend as much time or come into contact with each other as much as we should, but it's a wake-up call to all of us to pay attention.
Now, prior to yesterday's arrest, CPS had issued a removal notice for Williams, citing neglectful supervision as well as abandonment. Now, again, the two set to appear in court today at 7 a.m. Reporting live, I'm Brittany Jeffers, KPRC.
This whole debacle that you have seen with this mother and her bottom shelf Brad, or Mr. Clean, is that she was willing to sacrifice this white man for all her children. She let this white man kill her 8-year-old son and let his body decompose in an apartment where she left her other 3 kids. The one who happened to be 15 years old took care of the younger ones, and I believe a couple of them may have been autistic. This shows you that the mother was willing to trade her kids in for that white skin and all his imperfections. And his imperfections was that he did not like her black children. So she let that white man beat her children to death. Then she left those children in an apartment and came over sporadically and gave them ramen noodles and things to eat. But what disgusted me even more, they showed pictures of her with bottom shelf Brad at a steakhouse eating steak and potatoes while her children was laying in waste in an apartment with roaches and other animals crawling through the apartment. This mother is one of the most disgusting human beings I have ever seen. But what also got under my skin is that when the body was decomposing in this apartment in Houston, none of the neighbors who smelled that decomposing body called the police or called CPS. When you happen to see children every day in your local community or on your street or your apartment complex, you usually see the mother or the father. But if you haven't seen them, wouldn't something make you want to say, where's your mother? Let me call the police to check, have a welfare check on the apartment. But none of the neighbors did that. That shows you how the community over the last 60 years has disintegrated in Black America. They gave this man, this bottom shelf Brad, $1 million bond. He should have got no bond. They wouldn't have gave no black man a bond if he had killed the 8-year-old and let him decompose in an apartment. But that 15-year-old and them 2 boys had to stay in that apartment with their dead brother under horrendous conditions for a year because their mother rather be with that bottom shelf Brad that she always wanted. And in the pictures that they showed on Facebook, where she is grinning and smiling while her son decomposed in an apartment. This is why some of these women in our community should not be allowed to have children. For the simple fact is that they will take a man over their children. These children will never be right. And it took that 15-year-old who was probably threatened and possibly beaten a year to call the police. The police said the apartment was in horrible conditions. This is ghastly. This is one of the worst crimes I have ever seen. But you cannot put them past people today because this is not the only household that this happened in. This mother not only should get life, but since she's in Texas, they should give her the death penalty for what she has done to her children. Her and her bottom shelf Brad, or Mr. Clean, they were living their swirling happiness, but it turned into a nightmare. And I bet you she listened to Cynthia G, Tanya TKO. Maybe she was one of those friends, one of those subscribers, because she definitely left those boys. She left those boys to die in that apartment. And the only reason why they survived is because of the 15-year-old who should be named a hero and given a medal for making something out of nothing. That his mother neglected him for a bottom shelf Brad, a man who isn't worth the ground that your shoe walks on. That's what she wanted. She didn't want her children anymore. And you know plenty of women who have done this. You have seen this. And you have seen children be neglected and go to waste and turn to the streets and never be the same because their mother, who was the only caretaker that they had, decided that that man was more important than their children. I want to thank you for listening to Black Site. I hope you subscribe to this channel, smash that like button, but also share this video.